so quickly.
I know.
Well, welcome to our STAR students. I'm glad you're joining us for the next session. Once again, my name is Ulysses De Armas. I am Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and I am the Director of Underrepresented Recruitment for RPI. And welcome to our Student Life panel. We have a number of different staff members who will be giving you some information about their specific departments. And then we're going to have an opportunity for them to answer your questions that you might have about student life. Once again, please feel free to ask questions through the chat box. My colleague Ariana Lifshitz is in there, and she will be answering questions as we go along, and then saving questions for the panelists as well. So please feel free to go in there and ask your questions. So I'm going to ask that our first presenter is Miss Sherri Gunn.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you all could join us on a Sunday afternoon. And I hope that you all have a lot of questions because we are here to answer them. So first, to just start off, my name is Sherri Gunn, and I serve as the Assistant Dean for Underrepresented Students in the Office of Student Success. So some of my main duties and goals are to just really kind of work with the different offices and departments that are on campus to make sure that underrepresented students are having a good academic and social experience at RPI. And so some of my main responsibilities and things that I've been doing is I do a monthly underrepresented student newsletter, and that's an opportunity to kind of provide information to the underrepresented student population about maybe events that are going on that you wouldn't know about, opportunities for you to get involved in, internship opportunities, whatever people kind of send me, I like to let the students know what's kind of going on. Another thing that I started around last year with the help of a presenter that will be coming up next is community conversations. And so pretty much that's an opportunity for the students who identify as Black, Latinx, or Native American to kind of come together and then just talk about anything that we feel is important to our community. We often talk about things that are accomplishments, frustrations, hot topics that are going on in the world. So it's really good opportunity for people to kind of connect, de-stress, and just interact and meet new folks. And then some of the other things I'm responsible for is the Summer Bridge Scholar Program. So I coordinate that program, and this program is pretty much for incoming first-year students who are identified by admissions. If they are identified, then they'll go through a selection process, and then if they are selected, then they will get early access and exposure to calculus and physics. Usually students who participate in this program maybe have not had the opportunity to take calculus or physics, and so we want to make sure that you're prepared when you do start RPI because the rigor is different from maybe other institutions. So we want to make sure that you're prepared and successful in the classroom. So it's a really good opportunity, again, to get that academic piece, but also it's a really good opportunity to meet other folks. A lot of students that make friends in the Bridge Scholar Program are friends throughout their entire time that they're at RPI. So they really do enjoy the experience and they are grateful for the experience from what students have told me. And the other thing that I kind of started this year with the help of NSBE and SHEP, so that's the National Society of Black Engineers and Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, is it's the Strive Mentorship Program. And so with the Strive Mentorship Program, it's an opportunity again for underrepresented students to get an upperclassman, a mentor who kind of show you the ropes of RPI and take you through the ins and outs. Provide you with some professional experience, sometimes mentors study with their mentees, connect them with faculty, have those conversations about how to have conversations with faculty. It's a really great opportunity for students to get involved in. And this year was our first year where we really kicked it off. And so far, a lot of meetings have been taking place, and especially with everything having to be virtual, the students have really been taking advantage of it. And the students who are participating and meeting with their programs, meeting with their mentor, are getting a lot out of it. If you do need to contact me, I'll be available at the end for questions. Thank you.
Next up will be Mikayla Yehuda, who is the Assistant Director of Multicultural Affairs and Student Activities in the Rensselaer Student Union.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Ulysses. Just to tell you all, I am a real person, and just to show you that I'm a real person, I can tell you a little story before I begin. I was trying to make it to my office on time, but I couldn't, so I had to pull over into a Panera Bread. So I am joining you today from a Panera Bread, and no, it's not at the RPI campus. It's somewhere else. I won't tell you where, but it's somewhere else. Nonetheless, my name is Mikayla Yehuda. I oversee multicultural affairs in the Rensselaer Union. I also advise community service clubs here at RPI, including Habitat for Humanity, Circle K, Colleges Against Cancer, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and a host of other clubs. When we say SARP, SARP means Student Activities Resource Person. My position operates out of the Office of Student Activities in the Rensselaer Union. So some of the clubs, the identity-based clubs that I advise are the Black Student Alliance, Alianza Latina, Multicultural Leadership Council, Roundtable, Chinese Students and Scholars Association, Indian Student Association, Pakistan Student Association, Hong Kong. I mean, you name it, I pretty much advise it. And that's the bulk of the clubs that I work directly with. Now, there are three parts to my position, and there's also an additional position that I hold at RPI. The first position is as a student activities liaison, and I work directly with clubs to help them create clubs, help students create clubs, to help students find clubs that they're interested in, and to even help students create activities that they see as important or see as necessary, even if they're not affiliated with any clubs. So, as a student activities liaison, I work with students to connect them to clubs, to help them find clubs, to help them create clubs. I also work with other offices on campus to create activities, to create programming that's important to you all. The second part of my job is to serve, as I mentioned earlier, a SARP, which is typically an advisor. And since our clubs are student operated, we tend not to use the term advisor except for when it's actually in an advisory capacity. So I advise and I help clubs to work through their budgets, to develop their budgets, and to develop their mission statements, and to develop their overall programming around issues and around topics that matter to them. As I said earlier, I oversee community service clubs and I oversee identity-based clubs. And I also oversee the Multicultural Leadership Council, which helps me to ensure that all students on campus have equal access and equal opportunities, equal access to opportunities. No one is the same, and that's okay. Everyone has unique capabilities and unique talents, and we do have some similarities. But even in those differences that we all share, we all should get the same access to opportunities that RPI provides. So my job is to ensure that every student, no matter your background, no matter your interest, no matter your biological position, or no matter your current position, you will have access to opportunities if I have anything to do with it. And we have a great staff that ensures that as well. The third part of my position is special programming. And these are just a few of the programs that I've initiated and oversee here at RPI. Juneteenth, which is June 19th every year, to celebrate African American independence. That's a long story, and in order to really learn about that, you will have to come to the Juneteenth program. Kwanzaa, which is every December, which is a celebration of the Black experience. And then we have Latinx Heritage Month, which just recently ended, September 15th through October 15th every year. We do a host of program, Alianza Latina, SHEP, FIA, a lot of different clubs on campus join together to do that. We have Black History Month, which is every February, which includes, a calendar load of programming for the entire month, and pretty much capped off by our trip to Washington, D.C. We take a trip to Washington, D.C. every year, and it's a great way for students to become accustomed with one another, to meet other student clubs and student members. It's great. We also do a lavender graduation in the spring for our LGBTQ community. I facilitate voice forums, which is an open forum, dialogues, specific dialogue style to engage and to deal with specific topics here on campus. So what we used to do, in terms of the voice forum capacity, we used to do Brave Space, but we changed the name for Brave Space because brave is a derogatory term, and we try not to use that term. We also wanted to open it up to have a more organic, intellectual exchange as well. I also worked with Dean Gunn to develop community conversations, which Dean Gunn actually facilitates now, but that's for students that are Black, Latinx, Native American heritage. And then we also do International Fest, which is iFest, which is supposed to happen every year around Family Weekend, but since there was so much, lag time, with the weekend this year, with Family Weekend this year, we decided to postpone it. And then finally, before I go, I also teach in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. I teach, right now I'm teaching sociology, but there may be some other courses that I'm teaching. So if you have any interest in joining the club, if you have any interest in starting a club, if you have any interest in taking my class, if you have any interest in going to Washington, D.C., or if you just want to join with other students to speak about your experience and learn from their experience, please reach out to me. Um, I think Q&A will be after the session, but I'm seeing some questions now, but I'll wait until after to address them. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome to RPI. Eventually, I hope to be able to say that to you. Take care.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Roberts, and I serve as the Associate Dean for First Year Experience here at Rensselaer. So I echo what everybody said. Welcome, and thank you for joining this session this afternoon. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what happens after you get accepted to RPI and after you put down your deposit and you want to join us, whether or not you participate in the Bridge program, which Dean Gunn talked about. All students go through our orientation program and are navigating Rensselaer Beyond. So I'll kind of walk you through what a typical summer or a summer 2021 might look like for you all. We had a virtual orientation this past summer, so I will kind of be honest up front about what that looked like, and then I'll kind of talk to you about what our in-person programs look like. But as you may understand, we are going through some challenges and trying to work around multiple scenarios at this moment. So your process as it sits now in October, you're gonna, apply normally, work with our admissions team, which are wonderful and will help you through this process. And then we'll start talking to you, at Accepted Students Day, and then again in May, June, July. So that's kind of where we pick things up. So we will communicate with you and your families starting around May, and we'll get you right into our orientation program. So this year we actually started orientation a bit sooner because we wanted to make sure people understood kind of what was going on and get you into some webinars and things like that. So we did our orientation in June, July, and August. But in a typical year, you would come to campus either in July or in August. If you were part of our Bridge program, we don't make you come twice. We do that while you're here for your Bridge program. And I believe it's kind of the last thing that you experience when you're here on campus with us. So that's kind of exciting, and you kind of get everything done in one go. But for those of you that may live really far away from campus, and if you're not participating in the Bridge program, we'd have you just come in August and we'd get that orientation kind of done right along with the move-in week and our Navigating Rensselaer and Beyond week, which we call NRB. So our orientation is really two parts. While you're here for orientation, you register for your classes, or actually you register for your classes in July. So no matter when you're coming in July or August, you register for your classes and then review those with an academic advisor while you're here for orientation. So you really get a feel for what it's like as a student to log on to what we call SIS. You pull up the classes that you want to take. You're in communication the whole time with both first year experience and the advising hubs, which are in the 5 schools that we have. So depending on your major, you'd be working with the advising hub to select your first year courses and get your schedule right so it's a good fit for you and get in the right level of each class and everything like that. And you review that and make sure you're ready to go for your first semester of classes. When you actually move in with us in late August, we, again, like I said, we do Navigating Rensselaer Beyond. It's optional, but we would love for you to go on an overnight trip with us, which we take you to one of our nearby campsites. We actually have like 12 sites we do trips with. And a lot of I believe all of the Bridge program students do go on a trip as well. So, but they're all kinds of different outdoor activities. So whether you want to go sailing or rock climbing or one of our popular ones is, hiking and whitewater rafting. And so we do all kinds of camp activities with the students. About 400 students go on the overnight trips this year. Obviously, we couldn't do them because we're dealing with a lot of, we can't do group activities right now, but that would be in a typical year what we would expect. And then we go into the on-campus portion of NRB, which is required for all students. And that's what the whole class comes together and we do kind of a barbecue. There's kind of a carnival style day. We do nighttime activities. There's, movies, comedians. We send you out with our clubs and organizations on what we call day trips, which is a daytime experience where you could go with one of our about 50 clubs and organizations of our 200 plus that what Mikayla was talking about, do activities with them for the day. So that's a really an opportunity to get exposed to our clubs and organizations, meet friends, kind of see what the campus is all about and get a kind of a feel for it. But NRB is something that students really enjoy and look forward to. And the upperclassmen look forward to it as well because they get to meet you all. Then we get into the classes portion. So first year experience, I would say as an office, we are most known for our involvement with the orientation program because all first year students get to know us really well off the bat. But really throughout your first year, you'll get to know us really well. Sherri is a part of our success team. So she does work with first year students as a part of her job. And then we have the first year experience team, which really our job is to onboard all first year students successfully and make sure you're having a good experience academically, socially, and your overall transition to Rensselaer. So a lot of what we do throughout your first semester is intervention, just checking in on you, seeing what's going on. Hey, how'd that exam go? How is your schedule going? How's your time management? How are you adjusting? What can we do to make your experience better? Is there something that's an obstacle for you, a challenge for you that's in your way of being successful in your degree completion or your semester completion, your academics? We're really just about forward progress and making sure that you're, sticking with it, and we're here to help with that. It's kind of not a secret. Rensselaer can be a really tough school, but if you're accepted to Rensselaer, you're totally cut out to be here, and we're going to help make sure that you are successful. So your faculty, in the same way, want you to be successful, and we work very closely with them. And one of the examples of that is our mentor program, which Leslie, my colleague, is going to talk about in a minute, a little bit more in depth. But we're there to support you throughout your hardest courses, your first year. So that's something that we're really proud of, and we have a lot of upper class students that help out with that program. The other thing, which Dr. Yehuda alluded to, is Family Weekend, which is in October, which is actually next weekend for us. And we're doing a virtual one this year, which we're both disappointed and excited about. I think it's still going to be really great. So if there's any families watching, we'd love to connect with our families and our parents. And they really enjoy coming to campus. In a typical year, we would have, gather around athletic games and have, donuts and paint pumpkins and go to performances and have the international festival. And we're really, we're bummed we can't do a lot of that in person. We are doing a lot of great online events, so we're really excited about those. But in a typical year, we would gather on campus in October, which everyone really loves because on a day like today, it's beautiful, the leaves are out, and we just have a really great time. So it's always something that we look forward to. and the student groups look forward to that as well. And then just our parent programs. I actually serve as the parent liaison, so I have the privilege of working with a group of 20 to 25 parents, families, couples that work with us throughout the year to just improve the student experience. So we work really closely together, just triaging student issues. We keep them up to date on what's going on campus so that they're informed. And it's just kind of like our little parents focus group. So just something to be aware of if there's any parents that might be interested in that. I usually recruit for that throughout the orientation program because I get to meet families and we get to talking and I'm saying, hey, do you want to join this? So that's something to be aware of and look out for. I also put out a monthly newsletter, like some of the other colleagues refer to a newsletter. It's just a great way to gather content that's really relevant to a specific group. So just like Dean Gunn does with the underrepresented student newsletter, I do the same for parents, and I kind of gather what's going on campus, different events, different announcements, things they should be aware of, because I assume that parents are talking to their student on a regular basis. And so if I can give equipped parents with that information, like, hey, there's tutoring services, or hey, there's counseling services, maybe the parents can infuse some of that in conversations with students, which helps me out because I'm trying to preach that to students as well. So I give their parents some similar tips and tricks so that they can help work with their students. And we do communicate on a regular basis with our parents in general, especially around the pandemic. When it came time, even last flu season, we were having a really bad flu season, and then COVID was coming. We didn't really know much about COVID, so we were sending out notices to our families. And since then, obviously, we've learned a lot more, and our whole campus operations have changed, and we've really kept parents informed of all those things. Even up until yesterday, we had a campus notice that went out, and I made sure that that went to parents as well. So we keep our parents very informed because they're our partners in this. And as many of you probably know, your parents are probably very involved in your college journey, and they want to know, like, okay, what is the school, where are they, what are they all about, and we want them to know everything. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. I'm going to turn it over to Leslie so she can talk a little bit more about the mentor program specifically, because it's a really big program that we're proud of. So I will unbroadcast.
Okay. Hello? Okay, so I am Leslie Mejia, and I am the Assistant Dean in the Office of First Year Experience. So I work very closely with Dean Maria Roberts and also with Dean Sherri Gunn. So primarily my focus is the I Persist Mentoring Program. So the I Persist Mentoring Program is a program for all incoming freshmen during their first semester at RPI. So pretty much any student who was taking Calculus 1, Chemistry 1, or Physics 1 during their first semester will automatically become a part of the program. Now, what it means is that all the students who are taking those classes will be required to attend a mentoring session every week for each subject. So for example, if you're a first year student that's taking Chemistry 1 and Physics 1, you will be enrolled in mentoring for both classes. And it does count as a percentage of your grade for that class as well. So typically, right, mentoring sessions, there may be, usually it's one session per week per subject, right? So you may be in more than one session a week. The sessions are small sessions, and the reason that we keep them small is because we want you to be able to connect with your peers and to be able to form a connection and to make friends as well, to create study groups and to have a support group within that class. So typically there are 8 to 10 students in each mentoring session. And during the mentoring sessions, there's different material that's covered. So half of the mentoring session is strictly focused on the subject. So it's almost like an extra help or review session for calculus, for chemistry, or for physics. And then the other part of the content is the mentoring content. So that is really more of the transitional topics, and it's time to discuss any types of challenges that you may be facing as you are adjusting to college life, to being away from home, and also to being an RPI student. So a lot of the times, there are many different topics that are covered, whether it is, where to find resources on campus and who are your support people on campus, to learning how to manage your time wisely, study habits and study tips, and how to prepare for your first cluster of examinations at RPI. So there's a lot of different mentoring and transitional content that is covered in the classes. Now, the mentors themselves are upperclassmen, so sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and it is a leadership opportunity available to students. So after you finish your freshman year, it is possible that you may become a mentor. So the mentors themselves are required to hold 2 office hours per week. Pretty much they are open hours during which you can walk in there and speak to your mentor about any help that you may need with the topics in the class, or maybe you need to sit down and figure out a time management schedule. So there are many different topics and many different questions that the mentors can help you with throughout the semester. And you don't need any appointments. You can just walk in and the mentors are there and available. We usually have about 35 to 45 mentors per subject. So the office hours are scattered all over the week so that there is open availability and so that students can make it, so that we try to cater to all of the student schedules. Um, then the mentors themselves, they are meeting with us. So we do offer support to the mentors as well so that they know how to support you. So it's not like we just hire the mentors and then we just throw them into the classroom. They are meeting with us very frequently. They are also meeting with the faculty in that subject area so that they know how to approach your questions and how to teach the content and how to help you review and prepare for any examinations that you have coming up. All of the mentors are students who have already taken the classes, so they've been there before. They know what to expect and what to anticipate during examinations, during homeworks and quizzes and all of that stuff. And they are working very closely with us so that they can serve you in the best way possible. And the iPersist mentoring program, as of right now, it is only held during the fall semester, but we are hoping that we can somehow expand some version of it into the spring semester. So we are playing around with different ideas and different things, different models. However, you still have support. There is still continued support in any classes that you may be taking in the spring. Just because you move on to Calculus 2 doesn't mean that you wouldn't have access to a tutor or that you wouldn't have access to office hours. All of that support is still there. It's just that you wouldn't be required to attend mentoring sessions every week in the same way that you would during your first semester. And that is pretty much it. And I'll be here for any questions at the end as well.
Thank you so much. At this point in time, I'd like to call Tracy Boswell to broadcast and to give us her presentation.
Thank you so much, Ulysses. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm going to be very brief. I am Tracy Boswell. I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Support and Resource Centers, and I work primarily with 4 different offices. I work with the Health Center. I work with the Office of Multicultural Services. Excuse me for I'm having really bad allergies up here, so I might have to clear my throat a few times. So I work with the Health Center. I work with the Office of Multicultural Services. I work with student affairs. I'm sorry, religious affairs. And then I also work with the Office of Veteran and Military Families. So just to touch briefly on the Health Center. At the Health Center, we provide medical care, short-term medical care. It's a medical care model, sort of like an urgent care clinic. We also offer vaccines and we also offer counseling services. So if you do need to speak to someone, we're always available in there. We also offer group sessions. The other part of my job, my portfolio that I work with is Office of Multicultural Services office. So, we seek to provide an inclusive community, and that's some of what Sherri and Mikayla were talking about earlier. So we do, predominantly they do a lot of work outside of the classroom, and Mikayla does some work in the classroom. We also bridge that gap. So we also work with faculty and staff to provide sort of in-class pedagogy on inclusion and diversity initiatives. So there are 3 ways that we're doing it sort of this year. One is through, in the classroom, as I said, the community reads. So there's it is a series of common intellectual experiences for all incoming students. It's a book that's chosen for first-year students. So the book that was chosen this year is How to Be an Anti-Racist. And so the different classrooms in the HOSC Free Inquiry class will be reading that book and having discussions. We're looking at how we can expand it to the broader campus community. And I know a lot of my colleagues were here earlier this year when Dr. Kendi came to campus. And so that was very exciting. And so hopefully we'll get some good engagement with the whole campus community around the book. The other thing we're doing is we're incorporating unconscious bias training in the first year experience. So as Maria talked to you through orientation, we did put some modules in there, and we're hoping to expand that later on. The other area that we are working kind of closely with is safety. So we want to improve bias-related incidents reporting. We want to improve the communication. We actually have been working this year towards that, improve communication and communicating to the community when there is a bias-related incident. And we have been changing the language for grounds for disciplinary action for those who do violate those bias-related incidents. And then the last thing I'll touch briefly on, is Dr. Jackson spoke in January about the Inclusive Excellence Task Force. Unfortunately, with COVID, that it kind of halted the project for the time being, but we just sort of restarted up, and we're bringing people together, and we're trying to recruit students and faculty and staff to be on the Inclusive Excellence Task Force. So the Inclusive Excellence Task Force really takes a broad view of the Institute and sees sort of what are the projects that we're doing that involve inclusivity and diversity and inclusion initiatives, and sort of how do we improve them? How do we see which are sustainable, which need improvement, and what needs to be added, quite frankly. So hopefully we will start this work in January, but as I said, again, we're sort of recruiting faculty, staff, and students, because students are a very important part of this, and you all are a very important part of this too. And I hope that when you do choose RPI, that you would choose to be a part of this very important task force. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. At this point in time, I'd like to ask that all of our panelists broadcast, and then that way we can start tackling some of the different questions that are in the chat box that I see are in there, the ones that Ariana is not currently answering. And in the meantime, as I mentioned in the earlier session, please follow Rensselaer in the social media, specifically our Instagram page. We have student takeovers, faculty and staff takeovers. It's really a fun page to follow. And we have a number of our different webinars that we've had since the spring are on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to go there and to catch up. In the meantime, let's tackle some of these questions that I've seen in here. One, and as many people can answer, I guess, as need be. One is there a GSA at Rensselaer?
I think they mean,
Go
ahead, Mikayla.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that if you're meaning Gay Straight Alliance, I think Dr. Yehuda referred to the Pride Alliance. You can talk about that if you want.
Okay. I was going. Wait. I clicked the wrong button.
You're good. We can hear you.
Okay. So GSA, Maria, you were saying that referred to.
Yeah, typically in high schools, that might be the Gay Straight Alliance. So I think that's what you mean. So we have what's called Pride Alliance, which is the same idea, inclusive of all sexuality and gender identities.
Yes, we have RPA, Rensselaer Pride Alliance. We also have the Lavender Ambassadors, which are two groups that operate on different spectrums of the LGBTQ experience at RPI. There are also other groups, but sometimes due to concerns over privacy and things of that nature, you would have to, I guess, connect through those two groups to find other groups that you may connect to. And that's if you're referring to what we're talking about. I only say that because when I was at UAlbany, GSA referred to the graduate student organization, but I'm guessing we're not speaking of graduate students. Right? They're all potential graduate students. But yeah, so those are the two mechanisms that we have. And we actually just opened up a Lavender Lounge. We're we're so blessed we're able to expand our spaces at RPI. So we had the multicultural lounge last year, but this year we have two lounges. We have one called the X Lounge, which pertains specifically to our Alana groups. Alana meaning African, Latin, Latinx, Native American, and then we have the Lavender Lounge, which is a general room for LGBTQ plus communities as well. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much. Another question from Zion. What type of collaborations exist on campus to foster positive relationships among all students?
I guess I could say one thing that I do in the union. We have the Voice program, which is open to all students to come and share their thoughts, their ideas, and trust me, we've had a variety of thoughts and opinions, and you don't get run out of the room for your opinion. So think about what you could say that may piss people off. As long as it's not disrespectful and as long as it's not off-putting, people tend to have an open ear. So, and then we also have community conversations, which Dean Gunn can probably speak to. Those are just some of the conversational pieces aside from the clubs that offer specific approaches for your niche or for the environment that you specifically identify with. We have clubs that pertain to that, but we also have clubs that you can just pique your interest in. And most clubs, and all clubs, I would say, Maria could probably back me up. Dean Roberts could probably back me up on this. Most clubs have general body meetings, which means that you can come and learn about a specific club, whether it be a sports focus, whether it be an intellectual academic focus, or whether it be an identity based focus. So those are just some mechanisms that I can speak to.
Right. Samantha asks, are there any culture-specific sororities?
So I will say,
I don't want to speak too much.
so I will say that sorority Delta Sigma Theta sorority, they just initiated 3 RPI students last semester. And I'm sure that that is something that they plan to continue, of course, once COVID is in better shape. But that was something that did start last semester, and I'm sure it's something that they definitely plan to continue. If you don't know what Delta Sigma Theta is, so that is one of the historically Black Greek letter organizations. Part of the Divine Nine. Again, if you don't know what that is, that's okay. You can look that up too. But that is, so that sorority was started. And then there's also a historically Black Greek letter organization for fraternity. So Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is currently on campus as well.
And Phi Iota Alpha is another specific Latinx heritage fraternity as well on campus.
More questions. Please feel free to offer up more questions. One question from Katerina. I don't know who would like to handle this one. I'm currently a senior who plays women's basketball. How should I go about getting recruited this year if there isn't a season?
I can answer that. I was actually on a call. I was on a panel yesterday with Karen Hansen from athletics. So I'll try to do my best to say what she would say, which is you can still reach out to the coach. I will grab his contact for you, or Ariana might be able to quicker than I can. But they are still reaching out to students, and you can reach out to them. The best way is to just send them an email and let them know you're interested. So if they don't know you're interested, then they don't know what to go about recruiting you necessarily, because you're right, it has been a weird year with, they're not traveling actually at all right now, but they weren't traveling, probably during your peak season when you might have been getting recruited, maybe this past winter or spring or summer. So definitely get in touch with coach. Let him know that you're interested in playing basketball, being a student athlete at RPI, and they can kind of walk you through the process. Recruited, the term recruited looks a little bit different at Division III because obviously you're not going to be getting athletic money for playing a sport at Rensselaer unless you're men's or women's hockey. So the recruitment is really your level of interest and hopefully your level of play once evaluated, but there's still a tryout period regardless. So I think they're going to be relying heavily this coming season on that initial practice tryout period, preseason, if you will, where you'll be practicing and playing with the team. Hopefully soon we can get back to doing that. So definitely let them know you're interested and they'll kind of walk you through from there.
Thank you, Maria. Ali San asks, what are the dorms like at RPI?
Okay, I can take a stab at this one as well, unless anyone wants to go. I was on with Shelby yesterday, so I'll be Shelby too. So there is a few different housing options for first year students, which I should have said this too, that's part of your orientation as well. You'll be selecting your housing. Students do get to fill out their housing preferences. So we play a little bit of matchmaker, but we don't match you with your final roommate. And typically, this year was a little bit different because we have to de-densify our campus. So we were a little bit more meticulous about where folks were placed because we like to keep our ratios of students to bathrooms nice and low so that we can keep our students safe, which we've been successful at so far. But in a typical year, you would be filling out your housing preferences and we would give you potential student matches that might be a good fit for a roommate for you. And you would be able to select your room as well. So your room preferences as well. So across the campus, we have what they call Freshman Hill, which is a group of kind of 5 smaller residence halls. We also have a couple of larger first year residence halls called Barton and Bar H. And you are in either place, you're in really close proximity to our dining halls and our student union, your academics and athletics facilities, our campus recreation and our Mueller Center. If you're not interested in playing a sport, but you're interested in doing intramurals or you just want to work out or whatever, you're close to kind of all of that campus life. So regardless, your proximity is going to be really nice. Most of our first year residence halls are kind of your typical 2 to a room or 3 to a room style, where you're sharing kind of communal bathrooms, things like that. Some of them are suite style or quads, but few and farther between. But none of them are forced. I know we hear that word a lot, like, oh, a forced triple, like we're cramming, definitely not in these times, but cramming 3 to a 2-person room, that doesn't happen here. But we do have some that are set up to be 3 or set up to be 4. But I don't think a first year student would be living with any more than 3 other people, so 4 people.
All right, thank you. Gabriella asks, do you feel RPI's student body is particularly good at displaying acceptance and tolerance outside of clubs and sororities? And do the students predominantly tend to lean left or right?
I can start. Unfortunately, I'm very new, so I'm fresh. I'm a newbie, so I have some experience with the student body, but I don't have a whole lot. But one of the things that I do recognize is that the student council actually has taken this on as one of their initiatives for this year is implicit bias training and sort of how to educate, because we're in very different times right now, and we all recognize that, and they recognize it particularly as well. And so they would like to do implicit bias training, sort of an enhanced implicit bias training, so that they can help sort of educate the student body as well. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to that. I don't know if they're predominantly left or right leaning. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about that.
So I will say you can really be anywhere on RPI's campus, and you don't have to just specifically be in like a club or a sorority to be accepted or to have to worry about, people saying anything that might be disrespectful. And we do have things in place if somebody does say something like that, or maybe somebody in like the community or anything like that says something that you deem as disrespectful, we do have things that are in place for that. But a lot of students really don't have that particular problem. And as far as the left or the right, I will say that in conversations with students, or one particular student who often just meets with me just because he likes to talk, that's one of the things I do. He said that, you know, RPI students are really consumed with schoolwork, right? And so they really focus on schoolwork. And so a lot of times politics and left and right doesn't even come up in conversation. So I don't know if that'll really be something that you'll have to deal with.
Yeah. And I'll just add, just to be a little bit careful, because I know I'm coming from my own experience, I guess, as a white woman, but I will say our students are scientists. So if that tells you anything, I guess, about where they're leaning, I guess, politically right now, I think they would be more progressive towards, you know, things like climate change. Our students are very concerned about COVID, obviously. So I think if that tells you anything, you'd find a lot of those ideas right now on our campus.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're going to need to stop there because the next session is actually a student panel session. So I know that there are still some questions left in the chat box. I would say bring those questions to the student panel. That will be a great way for you to get a direct student response to some of the questions that you have. So I want to thank the panelists for joining me this afternoon, you know, especially on a Sunday afternoon, on a beautiful Sunday afternoon at that, for you to take time to be with us and to share, you know, all of, or so many of the different things that we offer all of the students, but specifically underrepresented students on campus. Thank you for being here. You know, thanks for all that you do. And I'm sure you'll be available if we have students who have questions at some point down the line. You know, specific questions, we'll share your email addresses with them and get them to email you directly.